One thing we've been saying since the jump is that the coup trials will be different. They genuinely will be. Aside from the fact that this was the main thing that we needed addressed, uh, it's just too interesting for people to ignore. But it's going to be a hell of a lot more effective if people are watching these things as they happen. Versus, I mean, in terms of influencing the people who need to be influenced. But there is a problem there, which is that it's very likely for the people that need to be influenced that they're going to get it filtered through Fox, through OAN, through Steven Crowder, through Ben Shapiro. Professional propagandists. They are going to filter that and try to make it seem as though Trump has had some horrible wrong done against him. Unfortunately, these trials, according to the laws as they exist, the rules as they exist, they can't be televised. We can change that. Let's talk about it. And here's MSNBC breaking it down.
Listen to
also, my girl Maya Wiley's back, and that makes me happy.
Trump's attorney John Lauro, what he had to say on Fox on Thursday.
Ultimately, what President Trump said is, let's go with option D. Let's just halt. Let's just pause the voting and allow the state legislatures to take one last look and make a determination as to whether or not the elections were handled fairly. That's constitutional law. That's not an issue of criminal activity.
Neil, was that a defense, or did he just admit that Trump committed a crime?
He admitted it, and it's something that Donald Trump himself has admitted earlier. So I don't think that that attorney made any particular news in that statement. But basically, what they're both saying is Trump exercised his First Amendment rights. And what Jack Smith has done in this brilliant indictment at page 2 is head that off right away, saying Trump could believe whatever the heck he wants, but you can't go and be ordering people to basically have fake electors in 7 states and try and disrupt the most solemn count our nation has on January 6th and the like. Those are crimes. This was an attempted coup. It's illegal every day of every week.
And Maya, but that's what makes this admission by Lauro so incredible. He's saying, the president has free speech, but here's the action that he took that makes this a crime.
Because I don't want to interrupt Maya. Again, I just want to remind you, this all makes a lot more sense when you realize Trump is not trying to pursue a legal strategy. He is trying to pursue an electoral strategy. And the guy, the unfortunate SOB, who has to be his legal representation, has to do the best they can to sell the world on Trump's strategy as a legal one, even though that's not what it is. So of course they're going to look foolish. But here's the thing: I also want to stress they don't have to do interviews. They can just say no thanks, no interviews. But that wouldn't really help with the legal case. That only helps Trump's real strategy. So, what I'm telling you is, Trump's lawyers, all of them who have gone on TV and run their mouths as such, they're complicit. Mark them down. Know their names. Keep an eye out for them. They are complicit. They are willing to help this guy pursue yet another workaround. Yet another way to skirt the rules. That's not what lawyers are supposed to do. They are supposed to navigate within the rules. That's the whole point of their profession. And if you notice Trump's current attorneys doing that, it suddenly makes sense why possibly all possibly all of his unindicted so far co-conspirators are attorneys. Trump uses attorneys to do crimes, and he is in the process right now of trying to do another crime, which is abusing our system, our system of justice for campaign purposes. I don't know what that crime's called, but it's a despicable thing, and it's effing with the law. So I assume there's a law written down about it, and I assume someone more educated than I will say it in better words.
Not only that, this is Jack Smith addresses this directly in the indictment. He says, number one, yeah, the former president is free to lie, but he's not free to take an act to block the vote counting. And in the indictment asserts the very opposite, actually, of what Mr. Laura said, which is also a crime. Both of them are. It's an admission. But in the indictment, he says Donald Trump says to Pence, do one of these two things that co-conspirator 2, John Eastman, said, either send them back to the states or just unilaterally block them. Pence says, your own lawyer is telling you I don't have the power to do this, meaning Eastman. Mm-hmm. And then Trump says, that's okay, because I actually like the other option better. And the other option is just unilaterally declare me president.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of the co-conspirators, 6 co-conspirators are mentioned in this indictment. The first 5 have been identified, but Mark Meadows is noticeably missing. And I bring this up because paragraph 55 in the indictment caught my eye, and it addresses the plan to expand the fake elector scheme and states, quote, this expansion was forecast by emails the defendant's chief of staff sent on December 6th, forwarding the Wisconsin memo to campaign staff and writing, we just need to have someone coordinating the electors for states. Neil, after reading that, how can Mark Meadows not be considered a co-conspirator?
Ooh. Hold up a sec, Neil. In fact, everybody don't move even an inch. Mayo's way ahead of the game on this. Look, here's how. He flipped. Right? I feel like that's the only explanation.
Yeah, I think that Mark Meadows is deep in it, and that's, I think, the findings of the January 6th committee, but yet he's not in the indictment. We're all trying to figure out exactly what's going on. There are 6 other people, as you say, who were named as or identified as co-conspirators, but not Mark Meadows. That's some suggestion that he's cooperating with Jack Smith. He may not have flipped, but he is cooperating. He's facing criminal exposure and probably trying to work out some sort of arrangement.
I want to get both Neil and you, Anthony, on this, but Anthony, I'll come to you first. You believe this trial should be televised. Why?
I do. I think the bright light of transparency is the best disinfectant against misinformation. And there are one of 2 ways to do this, Jonathan. The first is that the Judicial Conference of the United States, that's the policy-making body of federal judges, they can change the rules. They meet semi-annually. The next meeting is in September. It should be on the top of the list. The second way to do it is via an act of Congress. And so if the Judicial Conference doesn't take that action, my hope is that Congress does. And Neil wrote an amazing op-ed about this.
Yes, I'm sure he did, and I'm proud of Neil. Truly. Sorry for freezing it there. But I bet you're wondering, wait a minute. I don't want to just hope. How do I make that happen? Well, he said the 2 ways it can happen. Way number 1, in September, the Judicial Conference. How can we affect that? We really can't. Judiciary, it's separated from us. We are, our presence in the government is through our representatives. An act of Congress. That was the other way. You can use the link in the description. Contact your representatives. contact your representative in the U.S. House and Senate and tell them that you believe that the American people have an interest in this trial. I've put a line in there. It's a one line, a script if you want it, and it's all you need. The people have a right to view the trial of former President Trump, since its outcome will affect all of us. Tell them to ensure that this trial is televised. In theory, that line that I wrote will work as a persuasive argument for a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. I don't know what Trump personally will end up desiring. I imagine, if I just had to go with my gut feeling, that he won't want the cameras on him while he sweats. But who knows? After all, his strategy has nothing to do with actually pursuing a legal means to free himself of these charges. But it's irrelevant to me. I believe that the people will change. The people who support Trump, I believe a big chunk of them will, at the very least, be motivated to no longer support him after seeing this. I believe that another big chunk of them will, at the very least, no longer be motivated to go out and do crime for him. I think you take every group of Trump supporters, and there will be a big chunk of them who they don't stop supporting him altogether. They just downgrade the amount of support they have for him. But separate and apart from that, as a general principle, I do think we, the people, have a right to see what's going on. If you invert that and you imagine it was Bernie on trial, would you not want to see it? If only to ensure that things were being handled fairly. I think we have a right to see it. Apparently, so does MSNBC. And if you feel that way, use the link in your in the description here on this video. Write your representative and let them know. Tell them that you want it televised. We have a little bit of time. September, no decision will be made until after September. And the Judiciary, yada yada, whatever committee might take care of this for us. But why wait? Why leave it to chance? I recommend writing your representative now. And hey, use it as a test case. See, when you write your representative, just watch. Watch what they do. See if your representative in particular ends up talking about this. I think you'll be surprised by how much effect you can have. These U.S. politicians they've grown fat and lazy, and they're not used to being told what to do, even though they very much should be. So when you speak, I have a feeling they'll listen.